Brandon, yes, where do we get the term Dark Ages from? We see, Brandon, the Dark Ages was a term coined by a specific historian. Actually, he wasn't even a historian. He was a pre-humanist, I guess, in the 14th century Italy, and he's called Petrarch. Was this humanist in the 14th century, and the whole thing, the whole Dark Ages concept, stems from the belief that he was living during a period of European cultural and artistic absence. So he believed that his period, he lumped himself with the Dark Ages. He believed that his period, so again, 14th century, lived from about 1320, 1330s, all up to the 1370s, something like that. And he believed that all around him, except for himself, there was intellectual decline, there was cultural decline, and there was artistic decline. And he believed that that had happened starting at the fall of the Roman Empire in 476. Hi, my name is Brandon Foster, and I have a master's degree in history, and I primarily focus on the late antiquity, which is the fall of the Roman Empire, all the way up into the what is now called the early Middle Ages. And I end somewhere around the end of the Carolingian dynasty. If you enjoy that type of history and that time period, please leave a like, comment, share, all the stuff. I really appreciate it, and it will grow my channel. I also do writing on Substack and post on TikTok, YouTube, and all the stuff. So he believed from about 476 all the way to about the middle 1300s, 14th century, there was this drastic drop, a death of artistic, cultural, intellectual, trade, everything. He believed that it all had died. And he was basing all of that off of just his surroundings. Again, he lived in Italy and he was obsessed with Rome. Rome was the epitome of what enlightenment should look like, or so he thought. It came from all of his writings and other things. So by the time he actually was able to visit Rome for the first time, he was incredibly saddened by the state of Rome. Because Rome, during antiquity, had a massive population, I think well into 1 million plus. But by the time you get to his time, this is before the population booms that we would see in centuries later, it was gone. There was no massive population in Rome. It was kind of a husk, a shell of what it once was. He took that, and amongst the other things that he witnessed, the lack of intellectualism that he believed, the lack of artistic skill. And he said, well, because things aren't to my standard, the standard that I believe things used to be and I think or should be now, because of all that, there was this dark age. And he didn't even use the specific term. He used a vague form of dark ages in his writings. And we mostly find this from writings from like his letter or writing, but it's called Africa. And then he has some letters to different people. That's mostly what his writings were. And he had other type of writings, but a lot of this concept was him kind of venting to friends. And he just conveys that this world is dark and the world I live in is dark. And maybe one day we will have an enlightenment. And that concept was then taken in the next century, so after his death. So in the next century by full humanists during the 15th century into the Enlightenment and the Reformation and all that. And they said, well, there is this dark age. We are now coming out of that because we are the light. They saw themselves as the light that was going to brighten the world, bring back the glory of antiquity and culture, art, learning, and all that type of stuff. And so they saw themselves as that light. So they took his writings about darkness and said from the fall of the Roman Empire all through the medieval age, there is this darkness. And we are the light. We are the torch of enlightenment that is going to cast light and rebirth into the world. So that's where the term Dark Age comes from. You can thank Petrarch and then the humanists of the 15th century.